Okay, this is absolutely not what I thought we'd be talking about today. But it's the beauty of the hockey world, where sometimes we just get the most random stories out of nowhere. Now, you're looking at your computer screen, or your television screen, or your mobile phone device screen, and you're saying, hey, Lego, what does this video and what does this player have to do with the Detroit Red Wings? We're looking at Klim Kostin here, everybody, playing for the San Jose Sharks. Or at least, he was playing for the San Jose Sharks. And a recent interview that he did, wherein he expresses his very adamant frustration and disappointment with the Red Wings. Now, I know some of y'all Wings fans will be like, hey, wait a minute, I remember this guy. Klim Kostin was a former Detroit Red Wing. He played with the team in 2023-2024 after being acquired from the Edmonton Oilers in a trade for future considerations. This guy was a half a point a game player in the playoffs, just under half a point a game, and then he got traded over to Detroit for nothing. The trade, which saw Klim Kostin get sent over, was alongside of Kailer Yamamoto. And I remember 2 years ago talking about this trade like, oh wow, look at that, crazy. The Red Wings just got two guys that can be middle to top six forwards for nothing. They took advantage of the cap space they had. They took advantage of an Edmonton team that wasn't really all too financially flexible, and the Red Wings got two very interesting players in response. Now, unfortunately, Kailer Yamamoto didn't really do much with the Red Wings, but Klim Kostin, for all it's worth, he did end up playing some games. He had 33 games played with Detroit in 23-24 after signing an extension, and he had only 4 points in those games. He then was sent over to San Jose, where he finished off that year at half a point a game once more with 10 points in 19 games with the Sharks. The year after the most recent season, Klim Kostin had only 7 points in 35 games with San Jose, 1 goal and 6 assists. It's quite apparent that through his years in St. Louis, Detroit, and San Jose, he was never really able to capture that same magic that he had when he was playing with the Edmonton Oilers, when he had 21 points in 57 games in 22-23. Kostin is now 26 years old after being a first-round pick by St. Louis in 2017, so this has been kind of a difficult path for this guy. And now, things get a lot more interesting when thinking about Kostin and Detroit because of a recent interview published on sportexpress.ru. This article will be linked in the description, and it was posted earlier yesterday. Of course, sportexpress.ru is Russian. This is a Russian article. The original translation of the piece is like this, so if you can read Russian, of course, you can probably get a better understanding as to what's being talked about, but I can't, so I'm using the Google machine to translate everything into English. Kostin says in this interview with Alexei Shevchenko, I was shocked that the NHL wanted to make me a tough guy. In an interview with SE, Russian forward Klim Kostin explained why his last seasons in Detroit and San Jose were unsuccessful for him. Let's scroll past the San Jose stuff, and then just kind of get into the Detroit stuff, because opening things up, the article talks about how Klim Kostin was kind of given this instruction from the Sharks that he had to be a fighter. He's not somebody who's afraid of a fight, but he thinks it's humiliating to go out on the ice for 4 or 5 minutes just for the sake of fighting. When did you start being perceived as a tough guy? In Edmonton? The question is. No, more likely in Detroit, Kostin says. I was counting on a different role. I signed the contract hoping to play, but after my arrival, the Red Wings made it clear. Your task is to fight. It was a shock for me. They left no room for maneuvering. But maybe it was worth agreeing to gain a foothold in the NHL, the interviewer asks. Kostin replies, and if tomorrow they say, don't shoot at the goal, or just pass, should I agree just to stay on the team? I don't think so. I'm a hockey player, not a no-holds-barred fighter. You say I'm a hockey player, not a fighter, but in the NHL, power forwards are valued. Yes, they are valued, Kostin replies, but I'm not someone who goes only out to fight. I can be aggressive and tough, but I'm a forward. I want to play with the puck, score, be useful with my efficiency, not with my fists. The question then is asked here, were you upset that Detroit promised one thing, but in reality it turned out to be something else? Of course, Kostin said. When I was talking to Steve Yzerman, they explained to me a completely different role. I thought there would be room to play, a chance to prove myself. But in the end, they immediately made it clear. A fight was needed. I was shocked, but there was nowhere to go. At some point, weren't you tempted to agree and become a pure tough guy? No, I'm not interested, Kostin said. Yes, you can secure a place in the lineup, but what's the point if you're going out on the ice for a fight? I've always said if emotions run high, I can fight, but fighting specifically when that's all that's expected of me is not my thing. So this is a really interesting interview from Klim Kostin, of all people, going out there and saying that the Detroit Red Wings signed this guy just to fight, and they gave him the instructions to go out there and fight. And based off of his response and the way he talks about it, you can tell he's kind of butthurt here. Klim Kostin revealing some very deep-seated frustration, disappointment. What are other words you could say? He's upset with how the Red Wings treated him? This is quite bizarre. Now, to back everything up, there was an article posted on Detroit Hockey Now by Bob Duff earlier yesterday as well that dives into a little bit more of the intricacies in Klim Kostin's time with the Red Wings. Of course, you can see the picture here. It's Kostin fighting Erik Goodbranson of Columbus. But this article in Detroit Hockey Now, which will also be linked in the description, by the way, dives into the same situation here. How Klim Kostin is still without a contract, and he believes that his reputation as a player has suffered. He's blaming the Wings for initiating that change in opinion. The Red Wings acquired a 2017 first-round pick in a trade with the Oilers, and Kostin insists that he was given implicit instructions by the Red Wings to operate as an enforcer. The article then has the same quotes that we had just went out there and read. But in 33 games, this is what Bob Duff goes out there and writes with Detroit, the 6'4", 232-pound Kostin only fought twice. He tangled with Erik Goodbranson of the Blue Jackets and Nick Deslauriers of the Flyers. He also scored 3 goals. The Red Wings dealt Kostin to the Sharks at the 2024 trade deadline. Kostin was making it abundantly clear that he isn't anti-fighting. His only stance is against choreographed fights that don't follow the natural flow of the game. And this becomes a lot more bizarre when you see that, like, hey, Detroit was apparently hiring you to be a fighter, to be this guy, to change the momentum of a game and just go out there and seek a fisticuffs, but he only fought twice. I mean, what? The guy had 33 games, he only had 2 fights? Sounds to me like Kostin wasn't doing his job. And I get it. The entire interview goes out there and says how this is a job that he's not proud to go out there and provide. But it's weird that he says here that he thought that he was going to get a different role. He signed the contract with Detroit hoping to play and be more of an offensive dude, only for Steve Yzerman to reportedly pull the rug on him and tell him he's going out there and he's supposed to fight. He's very upset with the way things went down based off of these comments, and I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Klim Kostin speaking out against the Detroit Red Wings? Again, it's not like Kostin was the most important Red Wing to have ever laced the wing wheel, but he was somebody who was a decent bottom 6 guy. I mean, decent. He had 4 points in 33 games. He was not even decent. He was just kind of there. But he's a guy who was memorable enough because of the trade which sent him over to Detroit. What are your thoughts on his response to the Red Wings' usage of him and how he's complaining about the Red Wings and how they told him to fight? Does this make sense to you? Do you think it's a valid thing for Kostin to be thinking about? And do you think it actually happened that way? Let me know in the comment section all your opinions about the Red Wings' former forward here. I hope you enjoyed this Frischer 99. And bye.